building dreams and achieving more, telling it just like it is. Most of all, keeping it real. Are you ready for real talk? Changing lives and communities. Real talk. Saving all our families. Real talk. Bringing hope for you and me. Real talk. Real talk with Judy. Real talk with Judy on the radio. Real talk with Judy. Real talk with Judy on the radio.
Well, good morning and welcome to the Real Talk with Judy live radio show. I am Dr. Judy, your Real Talk host, and we're back here another Tuesday to have fun, to empower you, to inspire you, and to help you see another level of you and some good talk. We're always real. We're always live. I believe that that's the only way to be real, right? Because when you're real, you help people. But if you're not, then you give them a false sense of hope. So I want to thank you once again for joining me on another hour with Real Talk with Judy. I am excited about our show. But you probably say I'm always excited about our show. I am. Hello, Tanya. That's my sister. And I am always excited about my show because I believe that we bring some good things to you. And so to all of those who will be joining, thank you all so very much for joining in with us. We are excited about your being here. Also, we want to thank God so very much for my mom who's tuning in, my sister Tanya, and from Fort Lauderdale. Carolyn is in a full day's training today. So she probably won't be on, but my other sisters, I'm excited. My husband will be joining us via Facebook in just a little bit. I'm thankful for him. My mom is the reason of who I am, being my lifetime teacher, lifelong teacher for 65 years. And I'm always excited about the empowerment she gives to me. Even now, in her 85 years of life, she's still able to pour into me. And y'all, I value those times. I value those moments. Even when she helps me to see things in a different perspective, I listen because she's 85, right? And she's my mom, and I know that she wants the best for me. And one of the things that I do, I impart what she gives to me. So I thank her so very much for molding me and my siblings into some awesome human beings. And to my husband, I want to thank him for allowing me to do this and all of his support and encouragement that he gives. It is good. He helps me to do what I do, and I honestly thank God for him and all that he is. And of course, to Sister Priscilla John Louis, who helps me produce and put out excellent material. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about today, putting out excellent material from the church. We want to talk about the church and what they put out. You can't put out flyers with chocolate on it. But we'll talk about that. You can't put out flyers with chocolate on the flyers, getting envelopes from you, and you got your fingerprints on there because you're eating some greasy chicken, and then you put it in a envelope. Oh, Bishop gonna help me, okay? So I'm just excited. But before I get into the show, I do want to talk about the Alzheimer conference that is coming up Saturday. Priscilla and Kaylin have been talking about this, advertising this for a long time. And we are excited about it. We want you all to come in. Tallahassee, Quincy, Perry, Monticello, Havana, everybody. We want you to come and join this conference, which will be this Saturday, June 22nd. Going to be this Saturday, June 22nd, from 9:30 to 3:30 p.m. at Destiny Church, 5554 Capitol Circle Northwest. It's an Alzheimer Awareness and Education one-day conference. This is what I want you to know, that Life Changers and Real Talk with Judy, we have 15 tickets that we want to give to you. We have 15 tickets that we want to give to you. Only thing we ask is that you will inbox me or say on this show and put it in the chat box that you want to attend. Put your name that you want to attend, and we will list your name. The only thing you have to do is show up to the conference, and your ticket will be there. We want everybody to go. Let's come get some education, get a greater understanding. Man, they got a lot of people who are going to be there. If I'm correct, they got somebody who's going to be there who's going to help you go into something, but you're going to feel what it's like in the mind of an Alzheimer person. You're going to feel what it's like. So we want to, let's experience that. Okay. So this morning, good morning to everyone who's tuning in. We're going to ask you if you would go ahead and share, tag and share. This is going to be a virtual dementia tour. Okay, that's what it's going to be. I'm excited about that. I want to put that on. I want to go see what that is all about. So we're going to chime in today. I have brought back, and y'all know, I absolutely thank you, Minister Howard. She's tagging and texting everybody, but y'all, let's get on. Let's make this thing happen. But I am excited about our show today, and I believe that you're going to be empowered. I brought back a young man. I'm always excited to spend. I can call him and ask him one question. That's an hour and a half conversation. That's just like my husband. You ask him one question about the church or the Bible or empowerment or how to build or how to envision, what are the thoughts on this? Man, that's an hour and a half conversation. But you know what? You always got to get a pen and pencil to do that. And so I want to bring back my brother, my friend, my mentor. He has been on my show more than 10 times because to me, he is one of the most learned, hear me what I'm saying, learned, ever evolving, growing, sharing, empowering, inspiring, and building and bringing forth other leaders. I really don't like to listen to people who think they already made it. I really don't. They don't interest me. I'm not attracted to their conversation. If a person thinks that they don't need any more learning or any more leading or anything like that, any more development, their conversations, and that's just for Judy Mandrell. I'm not attracted to their conversation. Bishop Derek always intrigued me because he's ever learning. He's getting another degree in divinity right now. And we talked the other day and he gave me so many nuggets to help me. So my divinity school for the week came through him. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe his voice, his knowledge and wisdom is worth hearing. So today I bring to you the leader of Experience Christian Center of Orlando, Florida, the one and only, my brother, my friend, Bishop Derek McRae.
What's going on? How are you, Pastor Judy?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. So I was your divinity week. I understand. Okay. I'll walk in that.
Hey, listen, you in schools. I just grabbed it from you, right? I grabbed all that knowledge you got.
I hate school, but I'm in it and it's necessary. And I'm growing. I'm learning more. I'm advancing. For those reasons, I'm happy. But I want to just set the record straight. I am not a career student. I do not care for school personally. I understand the need of it, but I leave that for some other people. My wife, matter of fact, she's the brainiac of all school stuff. So she can go to school anytime. Me, school is a work for me, but I'm in it, having a good time. I'm at Virginia Union University as well. So the Samuel DeWitt Proctor School of Theology there, home of a lot of notable theologians and preachers in our country. And so I really happy to be there. Almost finished.
Yeah, you've been going for a minute. But you know what, Bishop, I can appreciate that because you're not just concerned about hooping and trying to do a good closing, but you want to make sure that when you're up preaching and teaching, that's why I enjoyed your conference. So last year, December, when you had all of the ones who pour into you to come and sit with us, so we can learn what you learn. And that's one of the reasons that I like you too, man, because you give us what you have. Some people try to hold on to their stuff, right? But you want to give us what you have. My husband sending all his messages, he sent it up to even some of the bishops in the national church who sit on the board on our general board. I'm like, when I see them in person, they're like, Doc, what they tell Pastor, Doc, you don't send no more of your messages. I'm like saying to myself, not to interrupt their conversation, saying to myself, you need to pay for that. There's a lot of study up in there, but to have men who will study and then to share with us. And Bishop, you shared so much with me the other day about transformational leadership.
Yes.
And you were there a whole week.
Yes. So, transformational leadership is important. The church has to be more than just the outcome. Mm-hmm. We also have to be the process. And I think that's what God is calling for. He's calling for the church to be more than just the outcome. So many people have just benefited from the outcome of church, from the revealed prayer, from the manifestation of the promise. But if we're going to really pick the church up and continue to carry the church in the future, we got to be a part of the process. So we really have to be a part of those who struggle until manifestation, those who have the faith and the courage to see. And the faith and the courage does not come out the sky. If we study our word and we learn the principles and we learn the processes, we now can help other people navigate to those destinations. And for too long, we've been a mystical society. I believe that where God is calling us for now is to be intelligent. You don't have to lose your intellect to have your emotion in church, but you can be intellectual and you can be emotional both at the same time, which means you can shout and praise God and dance to the best of them with the click tracks. And you can sit in boardrooms and help people who are astute walk towards the same pathway of faith. And so that's what I believe transformational leadership is all about. We got to change our policies, the way that I grew up, the leadership that I saw, the iron fist leadership and rules that we made up in the past. It's a new day and people just aren't subscribing to those things. And I believe that God is sending us divine help who is gifted to lead us in directions that will help us. I believe too many of us have died early of cancer. We've stressed ourselves out. We all have this preacher's beer belly. It ain't because we're drinking liquor, it's because we're stressing. Mm-hmm. And, we're stressing because we're not subscribing to this transformative leadership model that embraces the help that God is sending our direction. So if your ministry is great and you don't have help, your ministry is not great. You just think you're good. And so that's another truth that kind of comes out of all of this.
Yeah. And so today, y'all, we're gonna talk church. Bishop and I. Oh, hold on. Now, how did that happen? Really? It said that my battery is running low, but it's okay. I don't know how that happened today. My thing was plugged up all night long. Would you believe that? But anyway, Bishop, we're going to talk until we talk. Oh, it really is running low. But I'm going to get it. My husband is off today. Isn't that a wonderful thing? And I'm going to ask him to run here and bring me my charger. So Bishop McGray, as we talk about the church, and you just said that we have to be part of the process and all of that. And you talked about the rules and stuff from how we used to have and all of that. We want to address all of that, but I want you also to address, because I think people think the church should not have any type of rules, should not have any type of order, which I disagree with 100%. They think that, okay, they're just making all these rules, but everywhere we go, every place, and I want to address that first because everywhere we go, there are rules and order. And I'm of the belief um, 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 that the old church brought us to a certain place.
Mhm.
I believe that. I believe that the rules and things was necessary that they had back then to bring us to where we are right now. Um, talk about that. Talk about that.
Yeah, yeah. I think that we come to church, and when we come to church, we um, we misinterpret the love, the embrace, and the inclusion of God to be now the process of confusion of people. I think we do a very, very bad job in defining and describing how church should be. As much as they want to fight fight the standards, the rules, the qualifications, this is nothing new. This has been the case since Old Testament days. There's
Hmm.
always been a process in place as it relates to the church. God has never given us the church and just say, do as you will. The come as you are has definitely been over examined and emphasized, and to the point of incorrectness.
Right.
Um, the inclusion come, but it don't mean come and create your own rules. One of the
Hmm.
things that I'm amazed by, occasionally I get to travel to other countries,
Hmm.
and not too long ago we traveled to Dubai. And when I went to Dubai, what was amazing to me is to see that this is a place that so many different nationalities have all decided to relocate to this area now. It's a growing country, very short-term growing country. But everybody who moves to Dubai has to take on the culture of Dubai. You don't get to bring your culture to Dubai. You come to Dubai and you submit to Dubai. And people
Hmm.
moving in flocks and groves, just coming and just migrating to this area, but they're all willing to submit to it. And I found that the reason why they're willing to submit to it is because they really do believe in the product, which brings me a question. The question is, do we go to church, do our own thing because we believe we're there to help correct the church? Or do we come to church because we believe in the character of God in the church? Understand that churches have flaws. Every church has a flaw. There's a
Exactly.
flaw in churches from the standpoint of leadership all the way down to pews. And we can go from pews back up to leadership, leadership back down to pews. All of
Hmm.
us have flaws. We have mistakes. We got failures. It's the beauty of Christianity, the beauty of God, the beauty of the work of God is that he uses imperfect people. I got to say that again, imperfect people to do perfect work. So
Hmm.
in most occasions, God is perfecting himself through us, even as we're working to produce the work that he's promised.
Hmm.
So it's always a constant process of evaluations. And those who do it well are those who do self-evaluations, those who really begin to turn internally to look at themselves. And so it's not so much of us correcting the church as much as the church is correcting us, even as we work in the church, as
Hmm.
we lead the church. This is where that personal conviction, which is something that I live by. I live by living out your own personal conviction. For too long, we've tried our hardest to categorize people, put people in positions and places that we deem was not a season of grace or a place that God will restore. And I don't subscribe to that. I've grown out of that to understand that grace is something that all of us need. And if we come to the church, understanding that God has his standards, but we also have to have our grace for people. And so we're not ruling with iron fist anymore. I grew up under Bishop M.L. Skyers. You know him very well, Bishop M.L. Skyers. And Pastor Julie, you know as well as I do, that Bishop Skyers was a very firm, stern, directional leader. What he said was going to happen, and he had big hands. And so he put his hands up a lot, and he would have that big old bishop ring on his hand too. And he'd be like, Derek, you're going to do it this way. You heard what I said. And guess what? Everybody did it. But man, people have got wise. People are smart now. They don't just do it the way that is told to them. Matter of fact, people will still do it when you're asking, but your presentation is your presentation is necessary in the movement of your people today. And leaders got to catch that. So I can still say to you, this is what we're going to do. but I can't say it to you the way that they used to say it to us.
Mhm.
It has to be packaged better, because we live in a season where you need buy-in now. It's not just directional. You need buy-in, and people who are very strong directional leaders but not buy-in leaders are leading by themselves nowadays.
Yeah, I was just thinking, because as you were just talking, I look at all these other companies, and I think we have to be so careful with the church, that we don't water it down so that we become so. I think we're scared because some of these big companies, they have their rules and regulations, and if you don't fit with them, you're out. They get people who are going to work with them, and I believe that we have lost some of the essence because, and this is how we're going to get into everything, Bishop. Um, Check your messages. How we're going to get into everything is because I think that we have companies who have set their rules and their regulations. And if you want to be a part of that company, if you want to work there, these are the rules that you have to abide. And as I'm looking at these Fortune 500, talking with all of these different people, it's in the church that where we talk about the rules and regulation. You can't do this, or or you have to talk to me in a certain way. I sat in a 1,000, 500, 1,000 company, and the CEO of that company I was invited to go. And as he was giving out his instruction, then he said, I want you to do this, you to do this, you to do that. And he left the room, but he gave out what he wanted. My question was, do you all ask the question? They say we do, but not in here. It's not, we don't ask questions to him here. And I'm like, well, what if you have something to say? They say, we don't say it here. Now he's gone. He told us what we want. Now we work it. If that was to happen in the church, people would be like, hey, they don't. And I think we have to be so careful that we have gotten the church, and that come as you are, that ain't biblical.
Right. Yeah. I think you went off, Pastor Judy, but I'll jump in here. One of the things that I found that happens so often is that we begin to, the church is one of the few places that you can go and become literally a leader within the church and not a leader anywhere else in your life. We have such a grace and a compassion for people that we allow almost anything to kind of happen with us. And one of the things that I'm even trying to do in my own local church right now, I'm working on really going back and putting in systems to detail what to expect of our church. So a lot of our churches can't stand on certain principles or products because of the fact that we have not actually lined things out. For instance, some of the things within our bylaws that helps protect us, that we can stand strong on certain beliefs or certain things that we want to stand for. But because we don't have them in our bylaws, we almost put ourselves at risk if we try to stand strong. So I think that what's happening right now is it's a strong move now of the church to go back and to put things in proper order, go back and put things in order in a position where we're so structured that we have to that we're able to follow our structure. So it's making us go back. A lot of times we go straight to Bible studies, we go straight to a church service, and we kind of just skirt over our bylaws. But it's really requiring us to kind of go back and take time out to say, what do we really believe? What do we stand on? What are we giving permission to? What are we not giving permission to? And if you have strong enough bylaws, you don't have to worry about some of the fights. That's a good word. If you have strong enough bylaws, you don't have to worry about some of the fights. But we're having a lot of people who are not used to structure coming into church because maybe they are anointed. And just because you're anointed don't mean you should be leading. I'll say that again. Just because you're anointed don't mean you should be leading. We have misplaced gifts within the body of Christ. People who preach good sermons may not be good leaders. And we got to catch that your placement may be as a sermon and equivalent, just people who are good leaders may not be good preachers. And so we have to stop making people in the pews suffer because you're gifted in one aspect and not gifted in another aspect. And we have to come to grips with ourselves that we may not be the master of all. So sometimes we are the jack of all trades with the master of no trade. And what we keep giving people is 30% qualifications and expecting them to give us 100% of attention. And it's unfair to the people that we're leading. It's unfair to the people that we're speaking to. But we got to really learn our gifts. Something that really came to me this past week as I was in school. We talked real strong about how sometimes we're putting people up to preach because they say, I'm called to the ministry. Called to the ministry does not mean called to preach. You may be called to prayer. You may be called to intercessory. You may be called to pastoral counseling. You may be called to the counseling field. It's a lot of places that you can be called to. But because of the fact that we have been so programmed and systematically taught to automatically put people into positions of pulpit, and we have allowed the pulpit to be the validator of our callings for too long. That's why a lot of people don't believe that they have placement to work in church, because they've only been introduced to pulpit. And the danger of introducing people only to pulpit is the fact that sometimes when you introduce them only to pulpit, they don't learn to value the other areas of working within the church. And everybody's not called to preach. Let's just be honest with ourselves. Some people are called to Sunday mornings. Some people are called to midweek Bible studies. Some people are called to workshop classes. And to say that you are not called to one does not mean that you're least of them. Notice the way that the calling of it is. And he calls some to be apostles, some to be bishops, some to be pastors, some to be teachers, some to be evangelists. We understand these things to be. And as we understand these different callings, watch, none of those are minimized. All of those are actually emphasized. But because of our small narrative of the pulpit, the small narrative of leadership, and leading back to even some of the slavery terminologies and the things that have been put into our mindsets, because religion was used by a population to drive power to African Americans for so long, we find ourselves now lost in a lot of things that are happening as we kind of go forward. Pastor Judy, I've just been rambling and rumbling. I hope that I've been doing good.
Oh, you've been doing real good. I was listening. But
okay.
You're good. Keep going. You're doing exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about the church, how we go to this next level. You're doing good, Bishop. Keep going.
Yes. And so we have to make sure that we get out of that. You have to be a senior pastor, because I also want to say this, Pastor Judy, that some people are pastoring that should be evangelists. Some people are pastoring that should be prophets. If we be real honest with ourselves, and this is just my experience, I'm not going to say that all prophets are this, but I'm going to say that very few prophets that I've encountered are strong preachers. It's because their gifts flow differently. And I think that, especially in the Black church, we have summoned them to have to preach before they can flow. And we got to get out of that. We got to give them permission that if your gift is to prophesy, it may mean that it's a night of impartation, that you may refer to a scripture, but you don't have to exegete the scripture. Because if that's not your giftings, you may lose your audience before you can minister to their needs. And these are hard discussions to have. But I think they're necessary discussions, which also means that the senior pastors have to have enough confidence when they call an individual to say, hey, I'm asking you to come in and do impartation. I don't need you to preach. And that may be a harsh statement to some, but I believe it can be also a huge place of relief for others who know, because we know when our giftings are certain things. We know those things. I'm not the most gifted as a word of faith preacher. That's not me, and I'm fine with that. Put me on an evangelistic field, I'm gonna do great. Put me in a faith field, I'm gonna do great. But some of the principles, I got friends that I call in now. I'm doing something called Faith Infusion right now in Orlando. We do it once a month, second Mondays of the month. Faith Infusion. I haven't taught any of them. I'm bringing in people who are masters of teaching faith and finance. And so they have already shown the fruit of it to show that they're masters of it. And so while I recognize it's not a strong suit for me, I'm bringing in people who can strengthen my weakness. And you got to be that person as a leader. You can't be so arrogant that you have to be the best at everything. And I think that's what's smothering the kingdom. People are tired of church because one person is the master of everything, and does not honor the gifts of anybody else. And we got to stop that. For years, men did it to women. That, let's be honest with ourselves. Some of the greatest preachers of all times have been women. Yes, some of the greatest preachers of all times have been women. But the men sometimes have become so insecure in their platforms and their podiums, because the other thing is, we know that, hey, okay, I'm gonna get in trouble on this one. We knew that if we ever gave women the authority, that they may take over the organizations, because we've always seen dominating numbers within the body of women versus men as it relates to the body of Christ. Wow. So we got nervous. That's why we started splitting people up and sitting some people to the right and some people to the left. I'm really gonna get in trouble. I got to stop. But we
about to get in trouble now about that right there. I don't like it at all.
That right and that left, we got sit over here, and all the authority is coming from this side and not that side. This was happening because we were looking at this audience and seeing that 85% of these people are women and 15% was men. But the truth is, some of the greatest preachers of all times have been females. I'm just thinking, just through my rearing, Mother Easton was always a strong preacher. Joyce Rogers, a strong preacher. Bishop, Dr. Gardner, Maria Gardner, strong preacher. Iona Locke, strong preacher. One of my favorite preachers for the longest in the 90s. Matter of fact, my favorite preacher was not Jakes. My favorite preacher was not Noel Jones. My favorite preacher in the 90s, here it is, was Prophetess Juanita Bynum. When she was into the No More Sheets, I'm talking about the No More Sheets Juanita. I'm talking about the Umpire My Soul Juanita Bynum.
Yeah,
those are some of the most powerful messages I've ever heard in my life. And we got to stop suppressing people to help elevate ourselves. And I think that's what's been happening in the church for too long, that we've been suppressing people trying to elevate ourselves. And we need to just honor the gift that God gives to the kingdom. Whoever the gift is, just thank you for the gift. And watch this. And these gifts come with flaws. These gifts come with failures. And this is where the grace of God hits our churches. The grace of God hits our churches because of the fact that we're saying that we're all scarred vessels and we need God to help build us. Because there's another thing we've done too. We've suppressed certain gifts because of failures. And we have to be careful in that. When the Bible teaches us, like why does this book say this stuff when we don't believe this stuff? That gifts come without repentance. And so sometimes you're going to have failed individuals. Don't mean that they're not gifted individuals. Don't mean they don't have a gift for you still. But it's going back to our manipulation of control that we've had for so many years to control people. Somebody get pregnant, we make them sit down in church. And you making them sit down. I understand recovery. I understand repentance. But does God make us sit down when we ask him to forgive us?
Bishop, let me jump in right there with making the women sit down when they're pregnant. I said, you don't have to make them sit down. If they repented and got everything going on real good, you don't have to make them sit down. They're going to sit down by themselves sooner or later.
And watch this. Sometimes I'm reminded of a story, and I can say it because he said it publicly before too. So a guy who went to school with me at FAM, great singer. He's a bishop now, great preacher. And that's Bishop L. Spencer Smith, my boy. And so L. Spencer, matter of fact, he's coming to preach for my birthday this year. L. Spencer Smith testified about his experience when him and Patrice had gotten pregnant. Mm-hmm. And so I guess they were around the outside of school. And L. Spencer went back home, and his bishop put him up to preach that Sunday. And he said he was so embarrassed because everybody in the church knew that he had just gotten somebody pregnant. And he said, "You're going to preach today." And he said he was shaking, like, why would you do this to me? And what I found is this: sometimes us sending people away is helping people to escape conviction. Sometimes you're going to be the most convicted by going through the process. Now, I know that's controversial. But sometimes your greatest conviction will be in the midst of your mess, while you're asking God, here it is, to forgive you. Because here it is. Most times God forgives you. Like all times God forgives you. The biggest critic is you. Yeah. You're not forgiving yourself. And sometimes the greatest corrections come through us dealing with the process ourselves. Now, that's something that a lot of people don't want to subscribe to. They don't want to say that. They don't want to tell that. Right. But that happens so often with us. And it's just showing that this is transformative leadership. Like some of your best messages come out of your worst seasons.
You're right.
Your best messages come out of your worst seasons. And I'm getting ready to go into a series when I come back to my church. I'm going to a series entitled Necessary Interruptions.
Okay.
Necessary interruptions. And I've been really studying interruptions. And I found that God would interrupt you because, for one, you've strayed too far, or sometimes he would interrupt you because you have more in store.
Okay.
And you are walking too low, and he needs you to walk higher. So he'll interrupt you. He interrupted Jairus' walk to the healing of his daughter by simply allowing this woman with the issue of blood to interrupt. But what did that do? That interruption brought a greater faith to Jairus. And so I'm saying to us that we got to be careful in how we categorize what God is doing. Like, none of us are God. And I think we'll do ourselves a strong favor when we stop trying to convince the world that we are God and that we own the mind of God. And I think those narratives has put a big stain on the church, making us look like we believe that we are perfect. When we're not perfect, we're imperfect people working every day to do a perfect work. And so every day we should govern ourselves by grace and trust God for the redevelopment of future focus and also for favor. But it's going to come from that aspect of us recognizing we don't master anything. We are just thankful to be in the process.
Bishop, how do we get there? How do we get there? Because I know the world is waiting, and you got people on Facebook now and different places defining church and all of that. Even though I believe what you're saying 100%, I believe that's where we are 100%. Bishop Perkins stated that he believed this next move of God, this next big move of God is going to be done through women, that God is going to raise up women to do this next move. But how do we get there? Still having right and left for men and women, that is so antiquated. I mean, we're so way behind in that. How do we get there? Because and you stated that we're part of the process.
Yeah.
The church. So how do we get here?
I think some things will only come through transition. And I hope you heard that. Some things will come through transition. And that transition means death. Some things will only come through death. Some changes cannot be embraced by some leaders. The secular terminology is you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And the truth is, some will never embrace the newness, but we also have to know that God will shift it. He will change it. And here's another thing that I've been learning in my life now. I've been learning that everything in my season ain't in God's timing. And just because I want to see it shifted right now does not necessarily mean that it should be shifted. Just because I think it needs to be some new paint on a new building don't mean that it needs new paint yet on that new building.
Okay.
I'm finding that, God is so God. And I don't think that we as leaders exemplify the confidence that we have in the ability of God.
Oh, wow.
I don't think we exemplify the confidence that we have in the ability of God. Here's what I mean by that. We say God can do anything, but then we try to force him to do what we want him to do as if he could not do that. So if we really believe that God can do anything, when the season of shift is necessary, it shifts. And I don't think that we have the power to do all the divine shifting that we've said. That's why you have so many tester models. Sometimes you say God's going to shift it. And maybe he's revealed to you he's going to do so, and he does it. But what do you do about the times that you felt God is going to shift and it didn't shift?
Yeah.
How do you come back and explain that narrative to the church? Where he ain't do it yet, or do you put us now in a cycle of spiraling faith that every time you speak, we don't see it and it keeps going down? So we got to be careful. And when we're telling or forecasting what God is about to do. Some people are going to talk about the church. You asked this question. Some people are going to talk about the church, Pastor Judy, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the church got to get out of letting the world define the church.
Yes.
Because the world does not let the church define the world.
Yes.
So the
Yes.
world rejects the church from defining the world. But the church seems to be so
Wow.
hard up. That may be a little bit too much for this
No,
segment.
that's good. This real talk.
Okay, so the church seems to be so hard up for attention
Wow.
that we listen to anybody outside as if we're the rejected person trying to find a date.
Wow.
So we let everybody tell us you shouldn't wear them clothes. You should put on them clothes. Your hair don't look right with that. I mean, they define everything about y'all music too loud. Oh, y'all be in church too long. I mean, like, let's look at it this way. Is the church the bride that cannot find a husband?
Oh, my Lord.
Because we keep letting everybody else tell us, well, you'll be married by now if you put on these clothes. You'll be married by now if y'all preach shorter. You'll be married by now if y'all had more up-to-date music. You'll be married by now if y'all change your style of music. So we keep telling the church that the reason why you're not married is because the people on the outside are not interested in you yet.
Oh,
and we keep allowing ourselves to be defined by that. And that's dangerous, because anybody who lets somebody speak that much into their life about what they should be is just an indication that they shouldn't be with you.
Oh, wow. I agree with you 100%, Bishop. Oh, that is profound. That is true. We allow people outside of the church to tell the church what they should be. You know, and I know Pastor and I made it 43 years because we kept all of the naysayers out of our marriage.
Yeah.
And so we made it 43 years. I remember one time he was told, you should make Judy cook more often. You should make that. His daddy said that. His daddy said that. I told his daddy, watch yourself, bro.
I know you did too.
I did. But Bishop, we that is so true, and we have to be so careful. Because I'm looking on Facebook, and I just laugh at Instagram and I don't comment when people talk about what the church should be, because my thing is you don't know what the church should be because you're not holistically in the church.
Can I say something there, Pastor Judy?
Yep, hit it.
What's very bothering to me is most of the comments about what the church should be doing is actually coming from people who don't do anything in the church.
Ooh.
And whenever you find that negativity goes out from any organization, it always goes out from top tier leadership. So it's people in the church who are branding the church wrong. And they're branding the church wrong, watch this, not because they don't like the church, but we've started branding the church wrong because of competition.
Oh, man.
So we'll see this bishop with these clothes on, and we'll go, it don't take all that. Come over here where you can just put on a suit and tie. It's competition.
Competition.
Because the world can really care less about this stuff.
Yeah.
If you go through and look at most of the posts, it is preachers and leaders within the church that's dogging it. It's usually not pew people. Pew people usually are not dogging the church. It's leadership who is looking over in somebody else's gate, looking across their fence to see how they're watering their yard and saying, well, y'all got people eating over there, nobody eating over here. Well, let me make sure I throw some shade on those that's eating over there so they'll know to come over here across this side of the gate to eat. And this is why what the world does see is they see church people canceling church people.
Yeah.
And that's why they're like, why would I want to join that, where the destruction of the church, like who wants to join any organization or any organism that destroys itself?
From the inside out. From the inside out.
It's us. And this is not new. It started with denominations.
Yeah.
You know, so one denomination made a focus on a certain thing. And because they focused on a certain thing and didn't focus as hard as another denomination did on a certain thing, we want to make everybody believe that they're not actually true holiness or they're not going to heaven. So that's why we had these separations of AME, Baptist, Pentecostal, and even in Pentecostal, you had 5 different separations. You had Jesus only, you had Trinitarians, you had all these different things that was happening within us. And all it was is trying to get every organization to be the biggest, because we all want to be the authority of it. We all want to master God's work. And what's really ironic to me is, if you go back to the 80s, you saw a strong separation, even in our preferences of worship. But if you come now, you walk into a Kojic church, a Baptist church, an AME church, a primitive Baptist church, a full gospel church, a CME church, a non-denominational church, a white Pentecostal church now, you don't even know the differences anymore of, if you walked in without any type of signage on a door, you wouldn't know who's what. Even when you get into the statement of faiths are so blended nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
That we're believing the same thing. And the question is, do we ever not believe? Or we're just really interested in growing our own kingdoms? And that's what's been the catalyst of the church for the longest, that we would destroy the body of Christ to build up the person themselves, the body of the individual. Our work got to be the most honored. Our work has to be the most cherished. Can't nobody do it like us, because we don't believe in the product of God. There are so many people in this world that if we all just became external in our focus of who we're going to reach, and stop claiming church growth because we're having church transfer.
Oh, Bishop, that's a whole. Bishop, that ain't church growth. You go from one church to the other, that's not growth.
No,
that's just over there. Church growth, those 3,000 ain't belongs to nobody. Church growth, go out there. That's what I tell people. 400,000 people in Tallahassee, and they say only 20% go to church.
Yeah.
So you got 80%. You got all those thousands of people out there in the church. We ask Life Changers members. We're on an evangelistic through, but we don't want you to go get anybody who don't like that church, because then they come over here, they gonna like this one for 5 years and then they gone. But let's find some people who don't belong to nobody church in Tallahassee, and let's disciple them, bring them to the church, and let's do what we do. We're a church of leadership. We build leaders.
Yeah.
You know, as we look all over the world, the different people who have come through Life Changers, we build leadership, Bishop, and we teach people how to be leaders. Not just an organization, but what we teach what you taught us last year. Dr. Therese and I came back, and we put that into what we do. We build lead. We know our place.
Yeah.
Pastor Medrell is one of the greatest teachers, extraordinary. He's a teacher. He don't try to do anything but what he does.
Yep.
And I remember Bishop Ellis told Bishop Blake that one of the greatest preachers that he had in Church of God in Christ was the man who preached tonight. That was a Monday night in the leadership conference. My husband flat-footed preached, and I did buy him some of them shoes that y'all wear for. He's standing up there with them $600 shoes on. Cause I just like those shoes, and y'all paid all that much money for them, but they look good.
I don't know who y'all is, but I understand what you're saying.
Y'all, but and he didn't even like them. I mean, he liked them, but Bishop Ellis said that man took the word of God without one hoop, without saying dot, without saying anything, and brought the house down. But he was him.
Mm-hmm.
And so 400-some-thousand people in Tallahassee, and the only thing we're doing is going from one church to the other, because you get mad over here, so you go over here. Pastor rejoicing because they said our church growing. Your church is not growing. It's just expanding with whatever. Go grow the church.
It's calling for the local church to become inconvenienced. It's calling for the local church to re-strategize their models for growth. I've been studying a lot. We refresh off of, I still say refresh off of Holy Week, not Holy Week, but Pentecost Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And when we look at the model that Jesus gives, Acts 2, when you get down to the end of Acts 2, is giving you a marketing plan for church.
Yes. Okay.
And when we get into that, like those people weren't coming from conversion, from other like transfers. They're adding to the church. We're no longer adding to the church. We owe Acts an apology, because we're no longer adding to the church. We're transferring the church. we're transferring the church to the point of tearing down another church. I hope we catch that. So if we're on the same team, it's almost like I'm throwing a pass to my wide receiver, but another wide receiver on the team decides I'm gonna jump in front of him and catch his pass so I can get my own yards.
Man.
And that's what we keep doing with the church. We keep jumping in front of another wide receiver to steal their yard, to steal their catch, because we're trying to get our own yards. And so we're not growing the church. We got to get back into outreach. Last night, my sons took me out for Father's Day, and we was playing golf last night. And my youngest son, Derek, said something. He's like, one of his friends was like, yo, man, how did you get these guys to come to church with you? And my son was like, yo, I just been talking to them. And what I interpreted from that was, dude, I'm not trying to be high and mighty. I'm being relational with people who don't come to church. Because most of the guys that my son Derek brings to church are first generation church attendees. Never been to church before, but his relationship with them, him talking to them, him telling them and saying, yo, why don't you come hang out with me? That kind of stuff is bringing new people into our church. And if all of our populations became so external focused on who works around me, who lives around me, who goes to the same shopping center that I go to, who's in my grocery stores.
Yes.
If they can ever get into that, we can then see the church do what Acts did, grow.
Yes.
Because right now people are sick of the transfer power. They're tired. They're tired of the competitions of praise team better than praise teams. They're tired. They're tired of one pastor throwing off on another pastor. They're tired of that stuff. They're saying, we don't believe in the God that you serve because you keep using other people as your platform of promotion. And you don't use God as the one who exalts in due time. And that's what we're dealing with. People are sick and tired of this church shenanigans stuff that we're doing because we're not really interested in meeting people as much as we are interested in growing our platforms.
Man.
And I had to take away for a little while from my church because, I'm human. I started getting distracted. I started setting myself up to be vulnerable for things. I started looking out a little differently. I started leading wrong, in my opinion, too. So, and some of my members on here right now, but I felt like I started leading wrong. I started being too driven by ambitions. Some of the things happened. My mom had to talk with me, my mom. And so she was like, yeah, I felt like you was, my mom, she kind of came at me a little bit with it. But the truth is I had lost perspective a little bit. And it's okay when you recognize it's happened. It's okay when you recognize it's happened. Too many leaders are afraid of their own altars. They are afraid to repent for their own placements of failure. But the bad part is if you don't come to your own altars, if you don't start having altar experiences as leaders, if you don't have God forgive me moments, what you're going to do is you're going to dig your feet deeper into the sand, and you're going to keep trying to thrust your way through to now you become your own God. And that is dangerous for us as leaders. We got to have our own altar moments. We got to figure out how do we reset. My time away, I had to reset. I got to reset with my family. I got to reset with my focus. Notice my ministry ain't even there yet. Like I had to reset Derek. I've been in counseling, Pastor Judy, and I know a lot of people don't do that. I've been in counseling for over 1.5 years, going through counselors, sitting down, putting my thoughts out with people, helping myself to better understand where my trauma units are with me. And because I don't want to lead through trauma. And everybody that's lived over 3 days have had some kind of trauma. But we don't deal with trauma. So we lead people full of trauma still. We lead people blindly. And then we try to give them some source of how to come out. Yeah. We never had it ourselves. Like where are you getting this from? Because the Bible is great, but God has also gifted people to help us to be better people. I don't want to just be a good pastor no more. Some days
I agree with you 100%, Bishop. I had a lady who's in my commission on the status. She's a licensed psychologist.
Mhm.
And for 3 years, she's called me. She's told everybody, we've said that she's my psychologist. But when I tell you, sitting with that lady for real and emptying my thoughts and my feelings to her, and her to pour back into me and to tell me some things what she saw, what she observed. And I mean, and it just happened of myself. I didn't think I needed that. You know what I mean? But talking with this lady, psychologist, this doctor, this licensed psychologist, has been a great help to me.
And we need to express that more to our community, because some of these issues that we're trying to lay hands on in the church needs therapy. Some of these things that we're trying to break down, and we need to let our community know that therapy, counseling is not of the devil, and it don't mean that you're delusional. It means that you need time, space, and an ability to decompress and to get things right, because for too long, our culture has lived on top of things,
Yeah,
and we didn't seek help to get through things. And we need to live to get through things and not just to get to places. And it's going to require leadership. Now, transformative leadership, here we are again. Transformative leadership is putting people in your life and letting them know that you have not been the best, that you made some things wrong, but you can make some things right. And that's what we got to do. Give people from, like, y'all want to talk about the grace of God. Let's talk about the grace of God from the standpoint of every leader in any church, pastors, associate pastors, deacons, mothers, ministers of music. We're all products of grace. But every Sunday, people just see us as products of glory. And that's dangerous. We're all products of grace. We all have something in our history that we don't care to tell people about, because most churches they're not matured enough to handle our processes. But we are all processes of grace every week. We just stand clothed in God's glory. But it don't mean we're not why do you think some of these pastors are going home and killing themselves? Why do you think some of these pastors are getting addicted to drugs, sex? Some of them getting addicted to drinking alcohol. This is all happening because of the fact of we're clothed in God's glory, but we still got to go home. And when we go home, we're still dealing with a litany of things that messes us up. And then we don't have people to turn to. We don't have people that we can trust to handle. We don't have Noah's sons. We don't have Noah's sons who can clothe us and cover us in our naked moments. We don't have those individuals around us. And where I am now in my leadership is I don't need everybody knowing my business, but I need to know your character, that you can cover me even when you don't see all of me, that you can cover me, and watch this, which means that I may not have the most gifted always around me. And this is where I am in life right now. Can I say this, Pastor Judy? Now, this is going to be real hard. Gifts have been over exaggerated for too long. We have given permission to gifts. Gifts. So what? You're gifted. So what? There is a bunch of gifted people. We tend to clothe ourselves with gifted people around us because we don't trust the God in us. Now, I want to embrace gifts, and we love gifts, but your gift got to be more than what you can perform. It got to also be what you can also prepare to handle. You got to be able to handle me. You got to be able to handle look through the whole Bible. From Abraham being a liar, Noah being a drunk, David being a homemonger. Look through the whole Bible. Solomon hating his dad for the things that happened with his dad. Look through the whole Bible. The thing is, all these guys are gifted, but we need people who can handle their giftings and handle the gift of who you are as a leader and cover you.
All right, Pastor. Bishop, this has been great. I tell you what, I hate to cut off right now, but I have to. But I tell you what, let me see. Tell you what, can we do a part 2 next Tuesday? Are you available?
Next Tuesday, I'm in school.
Oh,
I'm back in school next Tuesday. We'll
Let's
be
get it.
Tuesday.
We'll see how to bring it back on. But I think
Following week after that, though. But next Tuesday, I'm in school.
okay. We'll get it back because we got to finish this. You're saying some real good stuff. People have been blessed. Pastor Joe Davis just commenting, and so many other pastors are on here. People are listening. People are making. This is really good, and I believe that's how we talk church. Church got to be better. We have to do it better. We have to serve the people. There are too many people out here dying. And the scripture said that the Lord was waiting on us. We're groaning and moaning. And it is. And so we got to understand how to do church so that we'll be effective and relevant to people that we're serving.
Yeah.
So we'll be back. We'll be back real soon. We're going to come back with Let's Talk Church Part 2 because I meant to start off by saying it might be kind of rocky in here. I didn't know how you was going to come, but I knew you was going to come.
I hope I ain't get into too much trouble today.
No, well, I'll give you 100%. That's why I bring you back on. Because I value your teaching. I like it because we get to have different perspectives. If we agree, we agree, and we don't talk till we agree some kind of way. But it's good. And I love you, as I stated, I think that you, I have the spiritual leadership. I've experienced what you teach. I've had the opportunity to go to your church, to sit in leadership with you. I've had that opportunity. So I know what you teach. I believe in what you teach. I believe in you as a man of God. So this has been great. People have been asked. That's exactly what we want to do. I sent you one question we're going to deal with right now. We'll talk about that later because I got to go. But we'll talk about that later. I had a question sent to me. But Bishop, I want to thank you so much for your time. We will get part 2 as soon as you get another Tuesday available. We will get that on here. I have so many of those who are running for general board that I'm going to bring on, like Golden, Michael Golden, Elijah Hankerson, Neil Gillard. All of them will come in on Anton White. All of those are going to come on. I promised them that the women convention I will bring them on.
All my friends, all of those are my friends. I look forward to them. Happy about what God is doing in their lives, and also my good friend Linwood Dillard. I'm saying Linwood Dillard as well. So great guys, great things are happening. I think Kojic is definitely moving forward, and I'm happy about that as well.
Yeah. And I think women are going to be blessed greatly in Chile Grant. We keep going on the trajectory that we're going. God is opening doors for women. And our responsibility is to be prepared even more as God keeps opening its door. So, Bishop, thank you so very much for being on. And as Minister Howard just said, y'all prepare your calendar for part 2. Let's Talk Church with Bishop Derek McCray. Thank you so very much. As we end this, we want you all, if you have not gotten your tickets, I only have 5 more tickets left for the conference. I only have 5 tickets left. So now that I'm ready to get off, inbox me if you want a ticket. I have 5 tickets left. So inbox me, okay? Join me tonight for Bible study at 7:30. 7 o'clock at the Winter School, 7:30 Ella Higgins. But join me tonight. And God bless you all. This has been a pleasure. Let me say this. That D is a mastermind. My camp life, y'all know my laptop died. But that D made this thing work. And my husband came to the floor. I absolutely love y'all. This is the Real Talk with Judy Church. Let's Talk Church Part 2 coming soon. God bless you all.
God bless you.
Real Talk with Judy. Real Talk with Judy on the radio. Real Talk with Judy.